So, good morning, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen. Let's start the Call to Europe Copenhagen program. My name is László Andor. I'm the Secretary General of FEPS. FEPS is for Foundation for European Progressive Studies. It's the think tanks of the Social Democrats at the European level. And we are really proud to bring the Call to Europe program to Copenhagen. The occasion is the Council Presidency of Denmark. Because Call to Europe as a brand was invented more than 10 years ago, but we decided a few years ago to connect Call to Europe with the Council presidencies, because we believe that if a country provides the presidency of the EU Council, there's more debate, more attention to the EU affairs, but there's also more responsibility. And the responsibility very often falls on the shoulder of the progressives, whether we are in government in the given country or not. There's always an important task to find out what is the next step, what we do in certain policy fields, how the EU can improve itself, its relations between the center, the institutions, and the member states, the stakeholders, the social partners, and many others. I would like to express my gratitude to the hosts, starting with Britta Thomsen, who is a member of our scientific council, a former MEP who helped us immensely in order to bring together this coalition. Because to organize an event like this, it takes a coalition. The coalition includes the S&D group, the Socialists and Democrats in the European Parliament, the Danish trade unions, which also helped us immensely, the Socialdemokratiet Party of Denmark, and Friedrich Ebert Stiftung, which has a center in Sweden, covering a wider geography. And this coalition indeed came together to put on the agenda specific topics which are in the interest of all of us. We also detected that there is a kind of pro-European momentum in Denmark. Sometimes the pro-European momentum comes out of passion, sometimes it comes out of necessity. Maybe now there is a lot of necessity which creates this pro-European momentum, but I think it's up to such events to also raise the passion. Because without the passion to drive forward European integration, to find more progressive solutions to the daunting challenges of the time, a discussion is necessary. An analysis which we also provide. Let me highlight that at the back of the room, of this beautiful room, you find a great supply of FEPS publications, magazines, books, booklets, policy studies, which feed our discussions when we have events in Brussels, but also in the member states. Now, there's nothing else left for me at the moment, but introducing the keynote introductory speakers of this morning, which will be Maria João Rodrigues, the president of the Foundation for European Progressive Studies. After Maria João, it will be Christophe Clergeau, member of the European Parliament from France, and Flemming Grønsrud, who is a vice chair of the trade union organization, which I will pronounce, Fagbevegelsens Huvudorganisation. So in this order, I would like to invite the keynote speakers to address the conference.
Good morning. It's a great pleasure to be with all of you and in such a beautiful city, such a beautiful gathering. And I would like by telling you the following. Yes, today we are bringing the Call to Europe to Copenhagen and to a country which is now leading the presidency of the Council of the European Union. But I should tell you that I cannot remember Europe in such a difficult situation. Yes, we need a stronger Europe, but also a progressive Europe. Yesterday, we had the opportunity to listen directly to the Danish Prime Minister. And she was very frank with us. And she was telling us, as many of you could hear, that the answer to the pressure coming from Putin's Russia is the biggest challenge we are confronted with. And this is true. This is true. Nevertheless, what is at stake for us progressives is how should we deal with this pressure, which is a long-term pressure, a systemic pressure. And I believe that our progressive answer is not only about building European defense. Yes, we need to build up European defense. We need to combine this with NATO. But most of all, we need to build up democratic resilience in our societies. This is the best way and the progressive way also to deal with war. And so the question comes, how should we build this democratic resilience? Which goes to the roots of our societies. Well, then here we have a big political battle in all fronts, taking place now, here in Denmark, across Europe, in Brussels, in the European institutions, because we have the conservative family saying, well, because of the war, because of the effort we need to deploy to counter Putin's, we need to sacrifice a lot of things, starting from our European social model. And here I can tell you, this is something we will never accept, because this is exactly at the heart of democratic resilience. We were the ones bringing an important achievement in the European model, which is now called the European Pillar of Social Rights. By the way, this is very strongly based on the Nordic model, and we have been implementing this with laws, with complying laws for all member states. And we are proud of this. And we want to go on implementing this pillar with new measures. We were introducing the child guarantee, the youth guarantee, the minimum wage, the collective bargaining rights, but now we want to put a strong focus on housing. So we are preparing a big plan for housing. And we also want to address the way our cities are organized, having in mind particularly the future for young people in Europe, because they do have serious problems. And we believe that our achievement of the European Pillar of Social Rights can help a lot in this direction. But then we have conservatives saying, well, but because of the war, we need to sacrifice quality jobs. And again, we are saying no. Quality jobs are at the heart of the Nordic model, but also the European social model. But for this, we need to have labor rules, but also a strong investment plan with an ambitious industrial policy. And again, conservatives are saying, but we don't have the means for this industrial policy. And industrial policy is not in our beliefs. We believe in the liberal approach to the markets. And here we have also a big confrontation, because we are in favor of a strong European industrial policy. And then comes another big difference regarding regulation. Because conservatives are saying, well, but we need to unleash investment by reducing regulation. There is too much administrative burden. Look, we are reasonable people, rational people, and we can recognize that sometimes rules should be simplified, and we should be open to this. Nevertheless, let's not make a mistake. One thing is simplification. Another thing is deregulation. So we are paying a strong attention to this, and again, we'll resist to bringing down our standards, social standards, environmental standards. But the same, I can tell you, is now happening in the digital front. Because Europe is proud, and rightly so, to start shaping the digital transformation with an important set of regulations. We adopt them. Now we need to keep them to make sure that our privacy is protected, our children are protected, but most of all, our democracy is protected. Again, we have a big confrontation, but we also understand that if we progressives, we want to master the digital transformation, we need also to build up our own solutions. What is at stake now, dear friends, is not only to regulate the big tech, is not only to regulate the big American platforms. This is about us, Europeans, to build our own platforms, our own solutions, to provide better access to health, to education, to public services, but also to shape the way we live in our cities, or we conduct our agri-food system. So there is a lot of innovation we can conduct to provide well-being to our societies. So right now, I can tell you, this is at the heart of the discussion we have in the European institutions. This is taking place in a way or another in all countries. But I would also like to underline that these traditional conservatives, we know very well, have now a powerful ally. And this powerful ally is the far right, which can take different shapes according to the countries. And this is a particular insidious and dangerous ally, because sometimes they come with a new message, a new narrative, saying, well, we want to protect people from these concerns, these new trends. But in the end, they are really dangerous, because their agenda, let's not make mistake, is based on creating divisions among us, is based on undermining democracy, and most of all is based on denying the value of international cooperation at all levels: local, national, European, and international. They are the opposite about our DNA. We are in favor of cooperation at all levels. But right now, and we, Progressive Family, we are really paying attention to this, and we are preparing to fight back this, is that this far right is not only, as in the past, moving in each country one by one. No, they are coordinated. They are coordinated at European level, they are coordinated at international level. There is a kind of far-right international, and we recently in our Congress in Amsterdam, we decided to organize ourselves at the same level. So I'm also coming to tell you that we think that right now a new order is emerging. The new order is not coming back. When people say, well, we have Trump and others undermining the rules-based order, let's come back to the rules-based order. No, it's not exactly like that, because the rules-based order of the past, they are not fair rules. So what we need is a new rules-based order. And this should be our agenda. This is the real alternative. You could see, by the way, this in the recent United Nations summit, even last week, regarding climate. We have the ones denying climate change. We have the ones who even afford not to be there. They think this is not necessary. But we are in the other camp. We really want to reform global order and to bring more powerful answers to the climate, to the digital transformation, to social inequality. And this means, dear friends, that we have a big task in our hands, but I think also a beautiful one, which is to bring people together and to rally for a strong, progressive Europe, for the sake of European citizens, but also for the sake of international cooperation, because this is the only way for us, humankind, to meet global challenges. So that's the reason we are bringing here the call to Europe. I'm very pleased to see so familiar place. Let me just refer a former Prime Minister, someone I really admire, Paul, because I worked with you so many years, and it's really always great to have you here, and then I'll be here, listen to you also. Thank you very much, everybody, and let's go on together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning to all. I will speak from there because of my bad English. I had to write my speech. So it's a pleasure for me to be there with you, representing the S&D group as vice president, partner of this event, and partner of a lot of FEPS activities, because we really have to reinvent our narrative, our vision, our projects, if we want to regain in front of that right and far-right coalition Maya evocated. I am in a kind of Nordic trip, because yesterday I was in Helsinki to visit ECHA, European Chemical Agency, but also with a nice lunch with our friends from Socialdemokratiet Party, who are performing well in the polls with 25%. I was with Ellen Fritzon, a Swedish MEP, and even in Sweden, Social Democrats perform well with 22%. Here in Denmark, yes, you had difficulties in local elections, but you realized 23%, which is very good performance when you are at power. And we are very proud of the Danish presidency and the key role that Mette Frederiksen play at European level on the political scene. And a few weeks ago, we were in Amsterdam listening to Jonas Sterre, the Norwegian Prime Minister, with 28%, he was re-elected. And what was saying Jonas Sterre, and I will come by that. He said that everything is starting at night when the family is gathered around the dinner table. They talk about day-to-day life, cost of living, housing, food, health, energy, school, jobs. And we, as Social Democrats, socialists, have to give them immediate, concrete answers in order to secure well-being for all. But they also talk about future of the kids, future of the planet. And we, as Social Democrats, have to propose a positive vision of the future, the new green society, which must be the society for well-being for all. And they also fear about threats on health, from climate change, pollution, or dangerous products. Threats on jobs from China. Threats on freedom and security from Russia. And we, as Social Democrats, have to protect people from threats. So yes, we have to build on these three pillars a new social contract. We have to build it with society and offer it to people as a desirable perspective. And it is urgent for our political family to build and push together this political project and this new narrative. Yes, it is urgent because we are at danger. The political situation in European Parliament summarizes our political situation through Europe. We are now in a weakened minority position, confronted to a new majority coalition between EPP and far-right. And the EPP narrative is very powerful. What do they say? They say we have to boost competitiveness, to build a stronger Europe, and to adapt to a dangerous world. This narrative has become, as Maya said, a pretext to systematically dismantle Green Deal, but also health and social regulations, and even human rights, as evidenced by their attacks against women's rights and against NGOs and civil society. To win, we have to give an alternative content to this approach of competitiveness. No competitiveness without a population in good health, without well-being. Workers matter, and workforce is the backbone of European competitiveness. Human investments, social cohesion, are key to free creativity and innovation and boost our competitiveness as shown by the Nordic model. To win, we have to give an alternative content to what should be a stronger Europe. Yes, a stronger Europe is about defense and security. But a stronger Europe is also about greening, A stronger Europe is also about fair competition and strategic autonomy. A stronger Europe is also about stronger societies, resilient societies. To tackle crises or threats, we need civic cohesion, relying on shared well-being and care for all, and not growing inequalities that jeopardize our unity. In a stronger Europe, we respect democracy, we are supposed to defend, and everybody contributes to efforts. Everybody pays taxes, even the rich. Every company pays taxes, even the most important American ones. I just would like, before concluding, to illustrate that with one example you will discuss later today. Green energy production in Europe. It is about sustainability and climate change and benefits to planet. It is about availability and affordability of energy and benefits to people. It is about our sovereignty. It does create high-quality jobs in Europe and benefits to workers if we are able to resist to China's attacks on European industries. It does reduce our dependency and benefit to our security. We are still paying Putin 1 billion per day for gas at European level. And yes, green energies are energies of freedom. So democracy, jobs, well-being, future of the planet, security of Europe can work together and are for people's future the best political cocktail. We are the only ones to be able to build and promote these projects, so just do it. Building hope and providing well-being and protection is our duty. I am sure this seminar will bring very valuable contribution and open new promising path. Thank you for your attention.
Yes. Dear friends, dear colleagues and partners, welcome to this beautiful house, one of the oldest labor house in Europe. I hope you will enjoy it. And thank you for your invitation. It is an honor to speak to you today and a pleasure to welcome you here to Copenhagen. This is an important agenda that FEPS brings to the table, because ensuring welfare and well-being for everyone across Europe is a central change, especially in this unchanged times Europe is facing today. As you know, Denmark is right in the middle of the EU presidency. We therefore have a first-hand impression of a crucial phases in our history. Europe is changing. Our labor markets are under pressure, and workers face growing uncertainty. For us in FH, it is essential that the presidency focus on fairness, protections, and strong social standards. And let me be absolutely clear. FH full support the Danish government's priorities for the presidency. The Danish EU presidency place labor issues at the center. This includes fair mobility of workers across the EU, stronger enforcement of labor rules across borders, protection of collective bargaining and social dialogue, and just and inclusive green transition, and finally, safer, clear, and more transparent working conditions. These priorities are just political statements. They are necessary if Europe wants to keep the trust of workers. If workers lose faith, Europe loses strength. One big challenge in the connection is EU enlargement. We at the FH firmly believe that enlargement must be fair and responsible. It must not open the door for social dumping. We cannot accept lower wages, weaker protections, or unfair competition. Companies must compete based on innovation and quality, not on cheap labor or weakened rights. If enlargement creates fear among workers, then enlargement become political friendly. Trust depends on strong and relevant rules, and trust depends on enforcing these rules. And this is where another problem comes in Europe. We still see far too many cases of Wild West condition at workplace. Many workers are exposed to unsafe job, unpaid overtime, fake self-employment, or no special protection at all. These practices harm workers and the employers who want to do the right things. It harms the labor market and it weakens the social cohesion of Europe. The truth is simple. Rules only matter when they are followed, and today enforcement is often impossible. One major reason is the long and complex change of subcontracting. They must change in Europe. In Europe, responsibility in subcontractions change is unclear. We therefore need more transparency. We need stronger labor inspections. We need real cooperation between member states. And we need real consequence when rules are broken. Without enforcement, rights remain only words on paper. In Denmark, robust cooperation between employers and unions is the very foundation of the so-called Danish model. We sit together, we negotiate, and we find solutions, also when it's difficult. This model has given us strong rights, high productivity, and stable workplace. And we believe Europe can benefit from the same approach race. A strong Europe needs strong social partners and respect for collective bargaining. And let me end with this. Europe is more than a market. It is a community built on solidarity, rights, and shared responsibility. And if we want a strong Europe in the future, we must protect workers, support fair employers, and strengthen trust in our common rules. And we look forward to working with all on this. I wish you all a very successful conference. Thank you very much.
I would like to thank Maria Joao, Christophe and Fleming for these introductory speeches. I think you all highlighted something which is very important for the remaining part of the conference, to take the far-right challenge seriously, to protect societies from the threats of our times, to ensure that there is a strong social dimension, a social pillar of the European integration, including the enlargement. I think these are all guiding ideas for the discussion. With this, I would like to hand over the microphone to François Ballat, who has been the driver of the organization of the Call to Europe Copenhagen in the recent weeks and months, and then he will also moderate the first panel. François.
Thank you very much, Laszlo. And we're going to start our program directly on the topics of the day, which is well-being. And we're going to discuss the session of promoting well-being for young workers. It's not about saying that we should not have well-being for other generations, but the young people that enter the workforce today are facing unprecedented challenges. Not only what we are facing in the outside world, I think we have heard the many threats that we are facing, but also the world of work has changed with digitalization, the new attacks on our social contracts. So these are very key concerns at heart. And I think when we are in this place, we can see that if you put respect, meaning, democracy, and passion in work, this is the kind of things you can create. So I think this is a very empowering place to welcome our first keynote, Poul Nyrup Rasmussen, former Prime Minister of Denmark, former President of the Party of European Socialists, former Member of European Parliament, but the leader of Headspace Denmark. So Paul, we are looking forward to hear from the keynote, and then we will bring our other speakers on stage.
So guys, are you okay, all of you? Yeah. Right. I would like to start at another place on our global earth. I still have a picture in my mind when I saw the American president in his first inauguration speech. Here you saw him, Mr. T, I prefer to call him, because the rest takes too long. And in the background there was 8 high-tech, massive power represented. You remember that picture? And in a sense, it's a picture which is a kind of explanation why we are as we are right now when it comes to influence in the European Parliament or in our nations, I think. We have underestimated how forceful the globalization is still. We have underestimated how enormous power is concentrated in the social medias and in the AI, and not least in the tech giants scene. And one thing more, I think, which have been creeping around us, but now it's very obvious with Mr. T. You know, when he talk and he make his policy, he introduced the concept, as you touched upon, all of you, fear, and then chaos, and then a language filled with hard stuff, right? So the combination of chaos, fear, and hard language is a very powerful combination. I think we should understand now what's going on the other side of the planet, and we should understand that even in my time in the European Parliament and as president for the European Socialist Party, I recall financial transaction tax. You recall that? Right? Should we still have it? Right? And you recall other issues which we treated at that time, the social minimum standards, the full employment aspect. I think there was one successful parameter in our fight against globalization. That was, in a sense, the way we treated the finance crisis at that time. But still, we had at that time, as we have today, a sort of tempo loss. One of the countries who really paid the price in the financial crisis was Greece, and a couple of others in Southern Europe, right? And in a peculiar sense at that time, we saw that some of our own governments was engaged in ensuring that these countries have to perform, right? But they forgot that it was not only a performance in the national financial policy, it was also deeply influenced by the global forces. So let me just start there by saying, friends, I would propose simply that if you don't have it yet in the FEPS, you should try to introduce a sort of special workforce, special force to develop totally actual sets of actions proposed by us in Europe to try to get the financial forces and the tech giants a little bit under more control by very, very clear and very smart formulated claims to the social medias and the tech giants. Just an introduction, because when we talk about the workforce and we talk about the youngsters here and in the rest of Europe, I think that one of the biggest challenges right now is that around 20% of the workforce of youngsters, 20, 25, varying among the countries, they are simply not functioning. And there's a direct connection between these 25% not functioning youngsters and the social conditions and economic conditions. So what we see here, and I think it's a couple of years since we've seen that developing, starting and accelerating, is a very, very big challenge for us. Maybe the biggest one, if we should make some priorities. I think these youngsters would not have a chance if we're not fighting to give them a chance. I can see even in this wonderful country, welfare state, number 1 or 2, together with Sweden and Norway and Finland, we see that all over the place, it's around 20-25% of youngsters not functioning, mentally challenged, right? And they're not getting the jobs, they are not getting the education if we're not creating the circumstances they could do it. I call them the youngsters finding themselves in the twilight zone, you know. They're not functioning as good as they could just get the job or stay into schools, but they're not as sick as they should get into psychiatry. They are in the twilight zone. And the welfare state in our countries, including this one here, the Danish ones, are not equipped to take them on board, so they prevent them to get even more sick and even landing over there in psychiatry, which will be very costly for the society and even more costly for the individuals, right? So my first point, because we have to use our time to be focused, is that we should create a sort of preventive action policy which involve the public authorities and involve the civil societies. And let me explain why. If we start with the why what's wrong with these youngsters, 25%? Because the 75%, they are functioning, they're at the top, they're really smart, they're getting the best education, they're well equipped, right? But these 25%, what's wrong here? I think it's a combination of factors. Factor number 1 is the social medias. The social medias is extremely intelligent, performed by the high-tech people, right? If you take your mobile, right, and you do this like that, right, you're getting immediately dopamine in your brain, right? Oh my God, I have to swipe one more time and one more time. So this is not just something occasionally. This is carefully performed and developed in smart people's mind. How do we get these youngsters to buy not only this one, but the next one and the next one, and use the major part of their free time and their time to look at this one, right? And each time when they look at this one, they don't look at their parents or look at their boys or look at their friends, right? So the social media is challenge which is much more grave than we have imagined. I think the second one is the separation effects on the labor market. The specialization is now developed so fast that those youngsters who are parents, who are sons and daughters of parents who was not educated, are given even more difficult chances now in this complex society of creativeness and innovation claims to the youngsters and their actions. So there's a lot of others. There's also just one last point about the youngsters. Why do we have these 25%? Have you the same experience as we have here, that there seems to be a tendency now that parents living in a well-functioning society, they are now being used to that the society will fix it. If I have a son or daughter not functioning, right, It's not me as parents who have some defaults. I'm really good, but I don't have time for it. I have the kindergarten, I have the schools, and they have to do the job to get the youngsters grown up, right? It's a bit extreme, but it's not that bad characterized now. So we have a sort of attitude here around parents, and we have a sort of challenge getting the public authorities, the parents, the schools, the kindergarten, all the factors who involves youngsters well functioning to get together in a much more coherent action to get the youngsters on board. And then we have one last force, which I think the welfare state cannot fulfill. It's crucial when you have a youngster who's not functioning, who's beginning to leave the schools, not coming back to the schools, isolate himself, sitting with his mobile phone in his own room, and parents, they don't know what to do, the schools don't know what to do, nobody knows what to do. But they are there, and they're isolated, and you won't see them again if we don't do something. And here's my point number one. I think time has come that we need to develop the civil society as a good, strong partner to the welfare state, right? The welfare state is a fantastic construction, the best in the world when it comes to equality and same opportunities, all the rest, as you know, workforce, social policy. But there's one thing the welfare state cannot perform in. It's simply not so fine-tuned that it can take the youngsters when they begin to not functioning at an early stage, right? They can take it when they go to the doctor and the doctor say, well, you're sick now, you should go to the institution. But before that, in the twilight zone, we don't have any public authorities going into and say, hey, my friend, come to us, let us cure you. And that's where the civil society comes in now. I've developed what we call the Headspace in the last 10, 12 years now in Denmark. Headspace is inspired from the Australian authorities, but it's purely Nordic, you could say. It's consisting of NGOs, of civil society people, and of professionals. We are, dear friends, now in 41 cities in this country, 41 cities. And we are in contact with, per year, around 100,000 youngsters, which means that the youngsters who don't know where to go when they feel not functioning can go to the Headspace. The Headspace Center is a center not in the main street, not in the public authorities' offices, but just beside. So when you are in a classroom and you don't function and you go back home, you can always take the side road, and here you have the Headspace. Nobody knows, but in that Headspace, you can begin to talk with someone who know how to listen to you and who know how to help you on your own conditions, right? So our experience is quite fantastic. We have a research now documenting what we have obtained in the past 10 years now. And we can see that 75% of those youngsters who are visiting the Headspace centers after 2 or 3 or 4 talks begin to function again. It's free of charge. It's here and now, no waiting time. You can come in from the street, and it's a talk as much as you know and want on any issues you know. You will never go to these doors which will be close to you. No matter what you want to talk about, you can get that talk. And if you ask the youngsters, why are you coming to Headspace centers now instead of the communities, instead of the municipality centers and their services, they are saying, well, when we go to the Headspace centers, it starts by they ask us, how can we help you? So they discuss with us on our premises on what we want to. Let me give you a very simple example. There was a young girl in the second year of her lycée, of her education. She was totally confused. She got into the Headspace Center, and our people asked her, how can we help her? She talked about having a new flat, she talked about having a new friends, but after 2 meetings, we got the impression that she could simply not plan her day, totally confused. And after 5 sessions, she had totally control under it. 5 sessions in 4 weeks, and she was on track. Now, is this a serious problem that a young girl couldn't find out? No, not in the beginning. But we have seen so many examples of this early prevention is the key to get the youngsters on board again. And we have just now documented to the WHO, the World Health Organization, and they begin to recommend this headspace model now. So what I see now is that Norway is beginning to introduce it now, the Faroe Islands, Sweden is beginning, even my good friends in Sweden are saying, well, what are you doing out there in Denmark? I'm not saying we have this solution to everything, but I'm saying, guys, the time we find ourselves in now, we should always ask ourselves, is the answers we know, or should we try to find new answers to new challenges, to new groups of youngsters who need to have other answers than in the past? So what I would like to underline, if I should give the first answer to what are we going to do for the youngsters, that's what I would like to say. Early prevention, relevance to the youngsters, and the youngsters should meet other youngsters who have been to this process, peer-to-peer, we call it in professional languages, so that youngsters meet youngsters, and alongside them you have the professionals which are helping when it's needed to help. And thereby you have a bridge building to the municipalities and to the psychiatry institutions. So in a sense, it's a sort of missing link. It's not instead of the public sector, it's a partnership to the public sector. I call it the welfare state 2.0, in the sense that, just to take my last point here is, why do we lose our elections around in Europe now? I mean, the picture is that the right, as you talked about today, they are gaining grounds. This is not a natural phenomenon. I know a lot of explanations, but one thing I think is worthwhile. We need to be more relevant to ordinary, hardworking people. More relevant than we think we are, right? That's really the worst thing. Oh my God, I thought I got all the solutions. They're not listening to me. It's their fault, it's not my fault. It could be our fault that maybe we should try to ask ourselves, do we have all the answers to this fear, to this uncertainty which people are fighting on? Take just the actual situation in Denmark. Our government and our prime minister have for 10 years been the most popular prime ministers you could imagine, even more than I was, well, for some time, right? But still, what she's doing now, and you talked about her, you met her early on today or yesterday, I understand, is she's asking, what's going on now? Are there only one solutions or more solutions? And I said, I think she's agreeing. The headline here is uncertainty, is a sort of anxiety. Well, we have the money, but do we have the money tomorrow? Well, we have the job, but do we have the job tomorrow? And at the top of that, don't underestimate our kids, right? They really care about their kids. And they are finding themselves in a trap, you could say. We have had in Denmark and around the most of Europe an enormous growth of wealth, right? And the parents have really, really got their job, and they're really, really working hard each day. When I walk in the nature, I can feel it starts blowing behind me and across me. You know what that is? That's not the wind. It's a young father who's running, not alone, but with a little thing, and in that little thing, his daughter or his son bringing to the kindergarten. And then, I'm getting training at the same time, so I'm super effective. You see the point? Well, guys, just these few observations. I think my experience in the past 14 years, when I left the European Parliament and I left my job as president of the European Socialist Party, I asked myself, what can I do now? And I saw that in my country and around in Europe, it was really hardball to see how many families who complained or who was anxiety about their sons and daughters. So I decided to pull all my power in trying to keep up and trying to create something which could stop this development of more and more youngsters getting not functioning. And here we go. I think it's part of the solution is the one we developed in the past 10, 13 years. In January, I'm going to France, believe me, to France. And all the psychiatrists in France, they are inviting us to talk about headspace. I never believed that France could use headspace, right? I mean, and luckily I speak a bit French, so maybe we got a chance to start with headspace also in France. So just a few inspiration words, and I'm really a lucky guy to meet you all today. I remember all the pictures and passes we have done, and I can tell you that my grandson, which you have heard about, Lucas, you have heard about him, he's really well functioning. He was a bit hesitating in the beginning, but now he's on track. So even on the personal level, it's looking quite positive. So think about one question: should we continue as we have been used to, or should we try to explore this new connection between the social cohesion from the civil society to the well-functioning welfare state? Not to undermine the welfare state, but to complete the welfare state. And by having the civil society, you will see that ordinary people is beginning to see, okay, we can do something. The worst feeling you could give people is to get the feeling we can't do something, let it be. I'll try to fix it by staying at my job, but you can do something. And that's our premise number one, I would say, as Socialist Party, People's Party, not People's Party, but Socialist Party. We can do something. We will never give up and fall back. We can do something. We are the doers, as Bill Clinton said once. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, okay, right.
Thank you so much, Poul Rasmussen, for this inspiring opening keynotes, touching upon many elements and also calling us to complete this welfare state. So I think we have some work to do. So to start with, I would like to invite our speakers for the conversation that will follow. First with Christophe Clergeau, that you already met and heard, Vice President of the Socialists and Democrats in the European Parliament in charge of health policy. I would like to invite Marianne Wind, member of the European Parliament, sitting in the Employment and Social Rights Committee. Annelien Larsen, the Vice Chair of the Danish Youth Council, and Rasmus O. Langhoff, member of the Parliament. Please join us on stage. And we have quite a fantastic panel to start today. And let's dive into this very important topic. Our Secretary General mentioned the many publications that are at the back. FEPS recently led a project called Healthy Minds, Stronger Europe, where we looked into the well-being at the workplace, the impact of the digital, and the question of the addiction as well. And we have the three lead authors of this work are in the room, Jana, Aida, and Sarah, so feel free to catch them at the coffee break. And the Socialists and Democrats in the European Parliament just published their position paper on health policy, applying a One Health approach, so it's also a very inspiring work. Starting directly with the S&D, Christophe Clergeau, we have heard the sobering picture that our young people are facing. Nearly half of young people across the EU reporting unmet mental health care needs. And as you have just conducted this work at the S&D, what kind of concrete measures the EU should prioritize to integrate mental health support into the workplace, and particularly for the first job? So the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. And just a word for Paul, because we are a lot to remember when he was president of PS. We were young. We are still young. But PS was a party of friends and comrades at European level, and not an intergovernmental body, as it is too much nowadays. And it is criticism, I assume. We have to collectively to do more, but if we really want to address political dangers we have to tackle, we need to become again a family, really working together through all our countries, and inventing something together we all can push in our country. So that's why we need this kind of debate on working. And so you insisted on those who do not function before getting into jobs. Perhaps we will more focus to those who are in jobs. But I think the common element is that we have to assume there is a risk to have a sacrificed generation. And there is a close link with COVID-19. We have to assume, and now we are living as it has never existed. Nobody's talking anymore about COVID-19. And the long-term effects of COVID-19 on health and on society are very, very, very important. We all have example. I have around me a young teacher beginning his job in September 2019. 3-4 months just to keep confident in front of the kids. And then in January, being behind a screen, trying to teach, getting into depression and never recover. Our students who dropped out of university without any more social interaction and great difficulties to come back again in society and to build really networks, to build with friends, to be confident in life and to get projection. And now for those who come into companies, into job, yes, there is the impact of a lack of human link in companies. Because it was fantastic, for example, to have telework. But it has also strong impact on mental health, coming to isolate people. And now companies are coming back on telework, but without any kind of discussion with workers about how to organize the community, how to come back again together and learn again to build something together in a working community. And for those who do function, but try to get into jobs, in France, young engineers, some 1 year ago, they had a lot of proposal of jobs. Then they went anywhere in the world for a few months of discovering, and then come back, and there is not any more proposal because of partly artificial intelligence impact, uncertainty about what would be the job to maintain or to delete, and economic uncertainty in this very strange economic period with no recession but no real growing and no concrete perspective for enterprise. So in parallel of what you are talking about when you are dealing with a prevention plan for those who are not functioning, we need a kind of mobilization, and I think you would be more concrete than me on that, between unions, trade unions, companies, and young people in enterprises, in companies, to get a new contract of how to welcome them in job and how to help them to be confident, how to train them, how to accompany them in the first years of working and secure perspective. Valorize the young working force and not dealing with it as those you can fire, you can take again, and things like that. And the second element, not to be too long, is to change our approach of global health. We are pushing as S&D group a new concept in our policy paper on health through all policies, that is exposome. What is exposome? The concept of exposome is very simple. Where and how you live, where and how you work, the pollutions and dangerous products you are exposed to matters, have impact on your health, can bring to new non-communicable disease, and non-communicable disease are not just cancers, that also degenerative disease, that also mental health disease or others. And we need, if we want to bring to well-being and to global quality of health, to approach all these elements of global health. The quality of housing, the quality of jobs, the exposure at job and in life to any threats, any pollution, any dangerous products, all that has to be taken into account. And we need to get more regulation and not less regulation when it is about improving living condition, working condition, and protecting people towards threats, towards risks, towards dangerous products, towards specific situation affecting their mental health. And last word, when I was vice president of my region, because I was a local elected people before becoming MEP, and I'm still a local elected people, I was dealing with industry problem. And when we were working with industry about competitiveness, their testimony, not the trade unions one, their testimony was the best way to improve competitiveness in companies was to improve working conditions, the design of your direct environment of work, the technical organization of your work, and how to accompany workers. And then it was able to reach quickly 20, 30, 40% of more competitiveness without dealing with deregulation or any foolish thing we are now talking about. So this human approach of developing economy of well-being is totally key, and we need to come back to that if we want to tackle the difficulties of young workers. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Christophe. I'm going to do one question to each panelist, and then I will come back as a round. So I will now we'll hear from Marianne Vin, member of the European Parliament, and it's been touched upon, of course, now also from Flemming Gronsen about the precariousness of the work, the temporary contract, the platform work that is affecting young workers without social protection. So I wanted to hear from you what is the leading actions that you can do at the S&D in the European Parliament to protect young people regardless of their employment status. And we know that I think in a week's time the Commission will announce the roadmap for the Quality Jobs Act, and this is the long battle that we have ahead of us next year. So what are your thoughts on this? Thank you.
Thank you so much for organizing this conference. It's a really good idea. For me, well-being for young people and grown-ups is also about the right to have a decent working life. This is connected. If you don't have a decent working life, your family will suffer, you will suffer, and maybe you will suffer when you are old as well because you didn't earn the money to have your pension. So, or your health and safety was so bad that you can't live a normal life as an old people. So we have a lot of wishes for the next time in the European Parliament. And you're right. Next week, our Commissioner, Roxana, will present the Quality Jobs Roadmap. And it's, in fact, on my birthday, so I have a long list of wishes. I hope that we could take the first step for more decent work for young people in Europe. What I see in a lot of countries is that young people, and also in Denmark, that a lot of young people start their working life with bad health and safety, with 0-hour contract, as false self-employed, bogus self-employed, and so on. Their first step into their working life. And they could look forward to 20, 30, 40, 50 years with the labor market. It's not good enough. We can't do that to young people. So, for me, we should ban 0-hour contracts. It's not possible to go to the bank and ask for a loan for an apartment if you have a 0-hour contract. How can we accept today still have 0-hour contracts? How can we accept that people start in a job as a bogus self-employed? We should get rid of it. And this is exactly what young people start in. A lot of young people, not a few, a lot. We would like to have welfare states in all countries in Europe. And when you start that kind of job, we also see a black economy. And we can't build welfare states on black economy. And if we don't get money into tax, we don't have the same possibilities. And again, if you start your working life on black money, what start is that? You don't have any rights. I have a nephew. This isn't a part of my script, but I have a nephew. He's 23. He started as the same way as too many young people today. Party, 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 because he didn't feel well. I tried to help him, but it was very difficult. He was walking around in his life for 4 years, just started as a 23 years old, getting his first job. He's a delivery man, delivering packages. He earned 22,000 Danish crowns a month, including overtime. And he have between 4 and 6 hours overtime every day. We can't treat young people like that. He's so disappointed. Is that grown-up life you're talking about, Arndt? I'm sorry. Yes, it is. I think you should join the trade union. And he did. And luckily in Denmark we have trade unions, and great trade unions, but we don't have it all over Europe. So we need legislation as well as collective agreements. I'm from the trade union myself. I know that collective agreement is totally the best way. In the European Parliament, we are talking a lot about get rid of a lot of rules right now. Deregulation, simplification is the name of it, but it's deregulation. And for me, it would be much easier if we just said, you can get rid of a lot of rules, just have a collective agreement. But it's not so easy. We have a right-wing parliament these days, and it's terrible when we are talking about labor rights. I wish for the quality jobs roadmap will include subcontracting change, stop at after the second companies, because we can see from data from Copenhagen, exactly, from this municipality, they have a control corps coming out when we have public money spent on a school or kindergarten and whatever. 1% is at the top. 24% is the first part of the chain. 75% of the problems with health and safety, salary, whatever, is after the first chain. So we need to stop it. We can see all the problems of the labor market if we have a lot of change. So subcontracting is for me very, very important to have in the quality roadmap. Next year we will talk about the public procurement as well in the European Parliament, and it's our money spent on buildings or services, and I can see a lot of trouble. Subcontracting is one of them. Bad health and safety, people get ill. Building for the municipality, it's not all right. So public procurement, a simple rule. The companies who will build for the municipality, for the state, for the region, should have a collective agreement. That's a simple rule. But I know we will get a lot of trouble about it. But I'm prepared, and I look forward to the negotiations about the revision of this directive. So I know we can do a lot, that's a problem, but the right-wing parliament don't want to do it. And we have a lot of solutions in the parliament, in the S&D group, but it's very, very difficult, this mandate. We need a new parliament next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. You can count on FEPS to help you in this difficult task to fight the right-wing parliament. But you've highlighted the challenges for young people, and we have the privilege to have the vice chair of the Danish Youth Council, Annelien Larsen, with us. So we wanted to hear from you, as you represent the voice of young people in Denmark. What are the experiences that you hear? What are the recurring themes? Are there particular sectors that are either particularly bad or some that are bringing some support and some hopes in that regard? Thank you.
Now you can hear me. Okay, great. Thank you for inviting me. I'm really pleased to be here. And I have to start by saying I usually speak about these matters in Danish. So I will try to look at my papers so I make sure I say all the things that I prepared. But I'll try to give kind of a general perspective on youth and young workers. Because from our national youth analysis, we know that one of the strongest predictors of well-being is influence. Having a real say in our own lives and everyday decisions is really, really important. Young people who experience high levels of influence report significantly better well-being, and the same applies in the workplace. So a lack of influence is one factor that can lead to less well-being. And from the same analysis, we also know that young people see work as one of their most important communities. So this applies both for young people who are working part-time and the ones entering their first full-time job. And another perspective is that leaving school also means leaving the structured communities where belonging and support are kind of built in. And that makes the first workplace really important. And I think that young workers need workplaces to take community very seriously, not as a bonus, but as a precondition for thriving. And another thing is that we young people, we don't just want tasks. We want an opportunity to take responsibility. So just like in youth organizations we have in the Danish Youth Council, we grow when someone trusts us, gives us space, and let us shape our work. And I think agency builds confidence while micromanagement undermines it. And finally, it's really important for me to say that young people as a group are as diverse as any other group, because we have a tendency to want to say, like, what does youth want? And it's really different. We want different things from work. There could be stability, creativity, purpose, flexibility, money that can pay our rent. But one common message stands out for everyone. No one wants to be parked as the young and unexperienced one. We want to be taken seriously as contributors from day one when we enter the workplace. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for highlighting this importance of influence and purpose, because we talk a lot about the future of work, but it's not just only robots and machines, it's about what kind of work we want to do in future. So thank you so much. Now moving to Rasmus, you're a member of the Danish Parliament and spokesperson on those matters. So we wanted to hear from you, what are the promising policies that are being developed in this regard, and what kind of lessons we can draw at the European Union and share with other member states. Thank you, Floor.
Thank you, and first of all, thank you for hosting this important event, and thank you for the invitation. It's a great honor to be here to speak with you and be part of this debate. I think the most important lesson in this matter is that society needs to work together. The public sector have a huge influence. I'll come back to that later, what we're doing in Denmark on psychiatry. But also the private sector has an important job in making sure that we'll have a labor market that is diverse and is inclusive, that these jobs actually are there, and the working places are ready to include all kind of people, all kind of workers, also when we have different needs and different qualities. And of course, the labor union also have a very important role to play here, together with the labor market, and as our former Prime Minister Poul Nyrup Rasmussen says, that the civil society, for example, Headspace and so on, different kind of important NGOs also have an important part. So when we work together, I believe that we all play different roles, and we will also have the best chance of succeeding in this important issue. In Denmark, 3 years ago, we announced a 10-year plan on mental health, raising the financial in this matter with 4 billion kroners. That's a raise of 35% in mental health. Most important part of the plan is prevention and early intervention. We talk about young people today, but before the young people were young, they were kids. So when we talk about having an inclusive labor market and using all talents we have, we also have to include the debate about the school system and the kids. So most important part of the psychiatry plan, mental health plan in Denmark, I believe is early prevention. So when children and young people, they experience mental issues, that they don't have to wait a lot of years to be to get the right diagnosis and waste maybe all of their childhood. They need to have early prevention, early help. So that's part of the plan, is to make sure that they will have a lot of local institution all around Denmark, making sure that you can have very early help. And that's, I think, most important, that time is crucial, and to get the help soon is maybe more important to get diagnosed soon. So I think we have to work with this a different way, focusing maybe a little less on the diagnosis and a lot more on getting early help, and actually finding out what do the different children in the school, but the young in the labor market, what kind of help or guidance do they need to make sure that they can be part of the labor market. We have some success stories in Denmark already. For example, our biggest company, Novo Nordisk, the last 10 years have been focusing on recruiting people with neurodiversity, for example, ADHD and autism, and actually believe that it's that they got, when they focus on this part of, when they focus on these people as part of the recruitment, they get access to unique talent in this way. And I think that's the perspective we should have on all this, that we do it also to make sure that we will use all the talents that we have among young people. So we don't only do this because we're social democrats and we want and we demand an inclusive labor market. We also do this because we need to do it. Society need these. We need this all hands on board. Also because of the demographic challenges we have in Denmark and the rest of the Europe and the rest of the Western world, we need all hands on board, all people on board, and we need to make use of all talents.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rasmus, for presenting some of the approaches that you have here in Denmark. I'm going to do a short follow-up with all the speakers, and then we will move to Q&A from the audience. So coming back to you, Christoph, you also mentioned this different aspect that health policy is not to look into, and one particularly unhealthy matter is the planet. And that's why we need the green transition going on. and it brings a lot of anxiety, but also of opportunities. So how do we build sustainable workplaces? How do we bring this green transition at the heart of the matter? Thank you.
Okay, thanks. It's not the most easy question because we were the architects of the Green Deal with Frans Timmermans, and we made a very good job, but we also made mistakes. And we have to face these mistakes now because it has consequences. I give just an example. You are a young people in a SME in France developing new technologies for Renault, for electric cars. From one day to the other, Renault explain you that they won't work anymore with you because they will have their technologies coming from Asia or coming from Northern Africa, whatever, because of question of cost. So you do not have even the possibility to argue, the possibility to explain you have the best technology, the possibility to explain you can adapt and be a good partner. So I meet at any time in my constituency these young engineers or technicians or workers in industry who believed in green transition, and now they are facing that kind of problem. Or they were, for example, they created a new firm in France to develop a solar system, and it was totally jeopardized by a Chinese attacks against our economy. So nowadays we must be clear. Green transition, we have to push it, but it is a mess. It is a mess because we were not able to set the industrial policy and the social policy going with green transition. And now it brings uncertainty and fear and concrete threats for workers all over Europe. So we are pushing as socialists in European Parliament for protection towards Chinese attacks, to rebuild fair competition or tackle unfair competition. We are working to set new regulation in subcontracting, as you said, because if we want a strong industry, we need cooperation between value chains and between countries. We are fighting to change state aid rules to make it possible again to really support innovation investments in Europe. But there is a lot to do because behind the nice words of the rights of our right in link with stronger Europe, they do not try again to defend industry or to defend workers because the name of their allies are Elon Musk, for example, or they really want to lower the salaries and just to maximize the profits. So we have also to change our narratives. Far right and right are still the parties of the rich and the most powerful, and we are the defenders of workers. But we need a new deal around this green transition to protect ourselves, and we have concerns. We vote in Parliament about due diligence of enterprise, CS3D. It was a very nice tool to protect ourselves. What was CS3D? It was the obligation for a European firm to control if the partners out in the world were respecting or not the women's rights and the environmental rights. It has been jeopardized in Parliament. We had a legislation about deforestation to verify that products coming into Europe were not the cause of deforestation in Brazil or anywhere. It has been jeopardized in European Parliament. So all the tools we could have to protect ourselves are being weakened. So I think really we need to react because there is a question of trust of workers and young workers towards the socialists. If we are really able to develop in Europe the green jobs in link with green transition. And it was our initial promise. We were those who promoted green transition because we would be able to develop green industry and green jobs in Europe. And everything has to be rebuilt and then on that, and it's very urgent if we want to be credible. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for highlighting this big task that we are facing, trying to bring back this ambition for the green transition. Marianne, coming back to you, it's been touched upon already, but there is a gap between the expectations from young people about work-life balance, workplace well-being, and the realities. This, I think, is well established. And from your experience, what can we do at the EU level, working with the various member states, to address this question of the meaning of work and making sure that we bring back empowerment and respect in the workplace?
Thank you. I'm thinking that the expectations for young people to be at the labor market, how it will be at the labor market, are exactly the same as adults have, but the young people have a language for it today, and it's very important that we listen to them. In my generation, we just survived sometime. So I think we should listen very carefully to all the young people. I have 4 topics that I think is very important that we deal with in the next years. And one of them is education. It's very, very important that in each country you can be a skilled worker or have a degree. Also, if you start later than just after ground school. It's very difficult in a lot of countries to start education if you are 28 years old. But for some young people, it's not easy to find the right education.
Flexibility.
Yeah. So education is one of them. It's very, very important that you have the possibility your whole life. The second one is AI. We are in a digital world today, and it's going very fast. For me, it's very simple. Everybody should have the right to have a human manager, not only a digital one. And a lot of young people start their working life on an app. Who do you going to call if you have a problem? Nobody. And if a customer is racist or don't like LGBTI people, and you are obviously LGBTI people, or think the pizza is coming with another service, who do you going to call? And the rating from this customer is very bad because you don't deliver or whatever. So the next task you get is you get the punishment and you can't call anybody. So it's very important that we stand on you should have the right to have a human manager. It's very simple. But in the new world, this is important. Stress was nothing we talked about when I started in European Parliament 6 years ago. But after COVID, something happened during COVID in every country in Europe. And stress is something we talk about now, especially for young people. They have so high expectations that they want to deliver. They want to be so perfect. I'm old. I know it's not possible. I have a level that's good enough. But I can see my very young employees in my office that try to deliver up here. Every time it's not possible. You will get sick. And in the same time, when I was young, we didn't have a language for harassment. It was something women just talked about. Don't go into the copy room with somebody or in the storeroom with somebody. Now we can talk about it. And it's the young people in the office or in the workplace say, there's a little problem here, and we should listen immediately. And stop saying the young people, new in labor market, should say no. No, we should listen to the small things, because it's very, very difficult to be the youngest at a workplace and say there is a little slight of a problem. They said it with very few words, but we should listen if there is a problem with a manager or colleague or customer or whatever. They have the beginning of having a language for it, and we didn't. Psychosocial risks at the workplace, I think it will grow in the future if we don't stop it. Stress is a part of it, high performance is a part of it, a lot of tasks is a part of it. But the social environment is very important, and if everybody is stressed, it's not good. So I think we have a lot of things we could work with in European Parliament for the next year. And maybe we are here on a Saturday and it's a terrible week in Strasbourg. The right to disconnect is for me very important. When I'm out talking about these things, I ask, do you use Messenger at your workplace? Everybody say, yes, we do. What if you not feel well in your workplace? And this is the platform you use with your family and friends. Every time on a Saturday, you get a notification. Oh, it's my work. Oh, I hate my work. It's so terrible. There's a colleague. There's all the things coming back to you. Don't use Messenger. Don't use a platform you use with your friends and your family at the workplace. It's very simple, but it means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Very important reminder of the right to disconnect. I think it's really key. Moving to Annelien. When young people join the labor market, they'll be told you need to adapt, to be resilient, you need to constantly upskill. But it shifts the responsibility of well-being to the individual rather to the society or the employers. So what kind of structural change you would see are the most urgent to make sure that work stop undermining or well-being? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. We know a lot of the pressure that young workers feel comes from the idea that well-being is a personal responsibility. But no amount of resilience can compensate for systems that limit influence or isolate people. Well-being improves when, as I said before, young workers gain real agency and become part of strong communities. And I think that's the structural change that we need. Second, workplaces need to welcome the change that naturally follows when new generations enter the labor market. Every generation brings new expectations, new ways of collaborating, and new ideas about balance and purpose. And strong workplaces adapt to these shifts instead of resisting them. And then they can see young workers as contributors to culture and not threats to tradition. And third, well-being requires strong communities outside work as well. We work with access to youth organizations, volunteering, local networks, and all that gives young people identity, support, and belonging. You guys also talked about that, and I'm really glad about it. But all these things is helping us handle pressure and also set boundaries. Strengthening these spaces is a structural investment in youth well-being and not an individual task. And finally, I think that we really need to pay very special attention to the very youngest workers, those in their first jobs, because many works in sectors where there's rules about finding someone to take your shift if you're sick. There's rules about safety, lifting limits, or alcohol serving that are routinely stretched. And young workers, we really need clear protections, responsible managers, and a human, thank you, but also enforcement that actually works. So safeguarding the youngest employees is essential for building a healthy work culture from the very beginning, and not just getting used to that things are bad. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Essential role of youth organization is space for development, so thank you. Now, Rasmus, you've highlighted the importance of early intervention when it comes to mental health. Is there maybe one or two policy innovation that you would particularly like to see championed across Europe to ensure that young workers have access to these preventive mental health mechanisms? Thank you.
Yes, indeed. There's a lot of things we can do, both in Denmark and the rest of Europe. But I think we need to start with the issues and start debating the issues, because we know that society is changing. New kind of labor market, a lot of insecurity, social media, stress, a lot of changes. And I think when you listen to the debate and about being part of the debate, it almost feels like people are asking, what is wrong with the young people? What is happening? What is wrong with the kids in the public schools? What is happening here? And I have a theory. There's nothing wrong with the young people today. There's nothing wrong with the kid. There's something wrong with our society. Our society is not inclusive enough for these people, and they are being left out. And that is the main task, but I think we have to get the analysis on set and agree on that before we can actually solve this problem. I have a master degree in history from Copenhagen University. And I can see that I feel like history is repeating itself. For a little more than 100 years ago, we had the same discussion all around Europe after the First World War, and there was a lot of pressure on the mental institution, and we have this debate: what is happening to the young people? Did all the smart kids, smart young people, did they die in the First World War? What is happening? There's something happening. We can see that. And something was happening. Society was changing. People were moving from the countryside and to the cities. And that changes a lot for people, and a lot of young people that were able to be part of the labor market outside in the small farm areas, they were not ready and suited to be part of industrial factory production or anything else. So at that time, society had a lot of changes, and we didn't really, our grandparents didn't really see it that way, and made all kind of really weird politics out of that. We saw later on, but I think we should have a smarter debate now and discuss how can we make sure that society is able to include all of the people in the society, and that is where the debate should start. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much to our speakers. Out of respect for the rest of the program, I will kindly invite the Q&A to take place over nice coffee, croissant, and fruits that are being served now, because we have other speakers with certain time. But I would like to thank again our speakers, because you have highlighted, first of all, that the problem is with the system, that the key solution is about respect, and then last but not least, because we can do something about it, we must do something about it. So please, a round of applause to Rasmus, Annelien, Marianne, Christophe, and Paul Newop for their really enlightening remarks and discussion, and something that drives us for the rest of the day and the rest of the year. Maybe, Paul, you have the privilege.
One last point. Maria introduced in her speech today, which I very much welcome, that we should not forget, of course, to ask the question, what could we use Europe for, right? I just want to turn back to the starting point in this session today. I think what we discussed now was what's going on in our societies, and individually versus structurally. And the story which came to me now, I think there's a consensus around what is the most important challenges for the youngsters, and also consensus about the responsibility for the society and for the different partners. But what can Europe do, right? It came to me that maybe we should look about a reinforcement of the youth guarantee at the European level. And maybe we should have two challenges there. The one is to reinforce the storytelling, so the relevance of the youth guarantee at the European level is readable by everyone and understood as relevant. And in that youth guarantee, we should put in what we have been discussing here, so that Europe, in reformulating the youth guarantee from Europe, is saying, well, now we understand what's going on in the countries and in the families and in the labor market. Here's an offer, a Sicilian offer, you could say. That means one you can't refuse, right? So, thank you.
Thank you, thank you. And I'm sure you can find the commissioner who was in charge of the youth guarantee in the room. Thank you, enjoy the coffee.